Over the last couple of weeks, we've had lots of food for thought when it comes to preparing for Sorare 26. We expected there to be a lot of changes, a lot of innovations, and a lot of developments coming in to the new look Sorare in-season classic dynamic after what we've seen debuted in the 24-25 season. But so much of the discussion and the brain space so far for me, I don't know about you guys, but probably not too far off the same, has been spent on, how in-season is now going to look, the SO7 classic, kind of all the implications we've got around that, predominantly for limited and rare. But where I want to spend my time today on the video, spending my brain space and starting to think ahead to for the Sorare 26, the 25-26 season, is super rare. This is a scarcity that I've always had as my stretch part of my gallery, the part that's going for the stars, it's going for the jackpot element. And despite the changes upon changes upon changes that we've seen season on season, I think I've done quite a good job of keeping the strategy coherent despite the changing tides, the choppy waters that we've been navigating. And now that we've got the latest innovations, the latest developments in Super Rare, let's say I'm going to spend my brain space on this video thinking, is Super Rare something I want to actually play next season going forward, however you want to think of it as? Did I sell my cards? Did I buy more? Did I do what I see a lot of you guys doing and going out and buying classic uniques to give you that kind of head start into in-season Super Rare if you're able to actually get in-season Super Rares through classic as a kind of legacy strategy play or whatever? Now, for the most part, I like to think I'm one of the more reasonable kind of heads and voices out there when it comes to playing Sorare or whatever, thinking about the changes I've made, the motivation behind it, and what the net gain could be for the players, the managers, me and you, the scouts and managers around the world. But the last couple of innovations we've seen at Super Rare, I find that harder and harder to quantify. And on top of that, I've not been a big fan of the changes personally. We'll get into all that in the video, of course. At any point, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Please do get into the comment section in this one and let me know what your thoughts and feelings are, because as much as we see people buying like unique classics and stuff like that on the timeline, I've not really had a conversation solely focused on the developments that we've had for Super Rare on the channel yet. So I'll be really interested and excited to see what your guys' thoughts, feelings, takeaways, strategies are as we sit right now. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because the Super Rare category, the scarcity, the competition, however you want to think of it as, for me has a few particular creases in it that does make it different to every other competition that's on Sorare. Of course, every year there is only 10 Super Rares issued for every player in the game, which just means there's less teams that are entered, there's less variety on combinations, on team selection, less stacking power, generally speaking, compared to the other scarcities. And, as a result, the price point of them has been more inflated than what it's been certainly for Rare and Limited over the time. At point of recording, I currently have 63 Super Rares, and some of you guys will be aware of the strategy I had last year anyway, where I didn't buy any Super Rares at all. Well, I did pick up a few, as you'll see. Lenormand for £35. Elena for 20, Robertson for 80, and right before the season started we managed to pick up this little line of guys here because of maybe transfers or they were cheap or whatever, and then we won 6 Super Rares across the season, a playing goalkeeper, some okay prospects and other bits and bobs. But outside of that, we've got a bunch of, like if I was to paint them all with the same brush, I would say tier 2. There's a lot of just good players here, none of them are terribly spectacular. A lot of them I'm a big fan of course. I think a lot of them are going to be in a pretty decent situation. But with there being 63 cards here, and with some transfers, I'm looking at Vega and Tierney in particular now not being in the champ region, which is where this strategy has been based upon. It's not as coherent as maybe what it was last year or even the year before. I've got that very strong Girona collection, and then I think I've done a pretty good job around these other collections of getting to 1 and 2% with minimal amount of cards required. And I really like my Super Rares for the most part. I think a lot of these cards at Rare and Limited I'm less excited on and I'm less interested in. So the Super Rare still has a little bit of that going for me compared to other scarcities, I would say. But you guys seen how much I struggled this year in La Liga and in Champ Classic with the roster of players I had. Now, some of them could have performed better. There's always a bit of that comes into the conversation. But when it was 3 divisions and I was so protected away from the big whale accounts, I could play in D3 and D2 and have my kind of moment in the sun when it came. We got bits of success. We've got some cards like you've seen there, but we didn't have anything too wildly exciting. And I thought with multi-entry, it would make playing Super Rare more appealing and more successful, really, for a gallery like my own that has a lot of those budget tier 2 level guys that don't smash every week, but can smash, and the game is about lining the right ones up. But I think I underestimated the strength of the field, the rest of the leaderboard, because even in those lower divisions, getting the scores required to actually bring in something for a gallery like mine that would reinforce it, advance it, move it on throughout the season was so hard to do, so hard to come by. It was basically impossible. The change they then made mid-season, which has now been retained for this year, to make Super Rare a single division, I think it really just blew a gallery like mine out of the water. I think it made it almost impossible to get anywhere near the prizes, considering that it is multi-entry and so many powerful super rare and unique accounts we need to look at now. Canfield significantly stronger, not just first teams in mind, but second, third, and now fourth as well. So coming into this season with one leaderboard, 4-team multi-entry, and when we're thinking about Classic, the extra dimension of SO7, I do have mixed emotions, because I do feel that my best team in an SO7 format could do a lot better, but I think my strength and depth will be absolutely sucked up by that. You know, I do think my second, my third, maybe even my fourth team, if I get that far on the depth for SO7, would be far weaker than what they've ever been before. The first thing that I kind of pay some mind to at this point is the Champion Classic Super Rare leaderboard, because this is the primary competition that if I'm going to make it big, if the Super Rares are going to deliver, this is what I would be playing for. Now, the Essence payouts are a bit more exciting, a bit more interesting than what they've been previously, and as I see the payout for the top 50 to 100, I do then start to think maybe Super Rare Arena could be a place where we get some success, where we get some joy. But I find it really hard to imagine in this champion format, SO7 4-team entry, a gallery like mine ever been anywhere near the top 10. Under 23, I'm not taking any consideration against, because I just don't have the goalkeeper for it, or many outfielders for that matter. But with me having some guys that might transfer out of Champion Europe, we've already highlighted Tierney and Vega. All-Star is a competition that I don't mind paying some mind to, giving some attention and some consideration to. But again, it's because this is the only other classic competition that's not called Champion Euro that doesn't have an age restriction. Yes, I can hear you all already. There will be arenas, there will be specials and other stuff, I'm sure, that will take some cards, some teams across the SO5, SO7 arena, as it were, and thin the herd for me. But this is going to be so super dense of Austrians, Mexicans, Argentinians, Dutch, Belgian, Scottish, you name it, they're all going to be in here. And even again to the top 200 in that setting, I don't know if that's something that, you know, top 200 shouldn't be that hard. I would agree with that. But thinking that it's one master leaderboard with 4-team entry, I wouldn't be that surprised if it was super hard to even break into that top 200, never mind the top 100. And again, if I didn't think I was going to break into the top card places in Champion, I think All-Star won't be too different either. And this is the sort of exercise I recommend anyone does with their Sorare gallery, is try and fast forward yourself into the future, try and forecast ahead of what sort of lineups you'd be likely to make, what does a good score look like, and ultimately where does that kind of see you lie. Now with SO7, we don't have any sort of historical info or data that can help educate us here, sadly, so everyone again will be coming into this from the same position of info or strategy. You know, it's anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's at this point, don't get me wrong. But between Skorupski, Soria and Dimitrovic, I've actually got 3 goalkeepers that have got a lot better now after the 3 goal concession thing has been removed from them. Dimitrovic, like, if he didn't get 3 goals conceded, would have scored a lot better this year. It was mainly the only thing that held him back, and this was a guy that good AA in a low ranking team. His future next year will probably be the same. Skorupski was quite similar, but he also has that random rotation element in his game. But again, without the 3 goals conceded thing, I think he only scores better as a result. Same with David Soria, who is a hero of a goalkeeper. Getafe are pretty mince. Will he still be there next year? It's hard to know, but I think all 3 of my goalkeepers are actually a good bit stronger than what they were last year. And then between Mandanda, Killison, Brancolini, maybe one of them gets a move, maybe it becomes an all-star option, maybe a champ option. Let's see how it shakes out. But if you caught the stream I did earlier this week with Andy Laird over at Sorare with Laird on his YouTube channel, you'll kind of get the early incline of where my thoughts are going when it comes to team construction and lineup optimization for next season. When I look at the 21 defender cards that I've got here, they are all quite different shapes and sizes, but for the most part, like, a lot of them are too similar in the sense of we maybe don't know where they're going to go this year. There's a few of them that could be transfer bait, but even those ones that are a known element right now, a known quantity, they're not really that hard hitting. You know, they can be okay, but they're pretty meh for the most part. And as I look across this, like, how many teams could I actually get a defence out for? And even trying to theorise that, looking across these, it's really hard to know where a lot of these guys will be playing and if they will be playing next year. But I think across the likes of maybe these top 2 rows, it's probably safe to say I'll have 6 defenders somewhere, even if I need to creep into this back row and maybe even play it into All-Star with the Tierney to make that happen. But I think there is maybe just about 3 teams here, but if you were to make 3 lineups out of 2 of these defenders as the options every game week, like, really, how well are you going to do? And there's not really the ability to go triple defence, I don't think, with the roster I've got there. When I look at midfield, I feel a bit more confident when it comes to midfield. There's 22 of these guys altogether, and the sort of profile of midfielders I generally select are all action, decisive capable, double capable, that sort of thing. And yeah, maybe I feel a bit better about the midfield options I've got, but do I feel good enough about it where it could be a triple midfield? Probably not. I'm looking at guys like McGinn, Llorente, Brais Mendes here, Goretzka, Koopmeiners. It's just not quite there, is it? And then when we look at our 13 forwards, Nicolas Pepe had some real flashes of brilliance last year. We know how reliable Oyarzabal will be. We all expect Cunha's going to do well next year. Unal comes back from injury. Nemeka might play more this year. And then add in the likes of Castellanos, Borja Mayoral, Duvikas, Baranachea, Saganikov. This is actually quite a nice pack of forwards we've got. But again, like, would we go double forward? We probably would, actually. So let's imagine we had Soria in goals. And let's say he's worth a 70. And then looking across the defence, like, without picking out names, because I think too many of them are very circumstantial, but if we imagine we were to get a double defence that would average out 52, so we'd maybe bring in 104 points raw. If we were then in a good case scenario, a best case scenario, to get like a 65 average from 2 midfielders where, yeah, maybe one of them does 70, one of them does 60, maybe one does 80 and 50, whatever. But if we get a 65 average, 130 points raw, I don't think that's too hard to imagine for maybe somebody like a Sabitzer, a Kamada, Alias Garcia maybe gets more minutes than Leverkusen, Llorente. There's a few guys here that could average about 65. And then out the forwards, I think you could easily take Cunha. Imagine he can do a 70, and take Oyarzabal and imagine he can do a 60 for like 130 as well. So before captain bonuses, before multipliers, before collection bonus XP, all that stuff, that would be looking at a raw score of 434, which is an average of 62 per player, which is pretty high going, I think, considering especially it's across 7 players. I just don't feel that is probably one of the better case scenarios. How many times, how many game weeks in the season could I get that sort of alignment across the players? I don't think often enough. Now, with the info and the insight I've got from last year of how long it took me to win in-season cards, the quality I was able to win, sure, crafting's going to look different next year, but I just don't feel that I'm going to be able to get enough in-season cards quick enough, even with me going out maybe and getting a classic unique, which, if any of you don't know, if you don't have a classic unique, you'll need 4 in-season super rares for next year, and you have 1 classic super rare spot, but you can use a classic unique and then you only need 3 in-season supers. So there's a bit of a short code, a bit of a cheat code there if you're so motivated to really go for this, which I am just really not feeling right now, to be honest with you. Now, I've actually went a wee bit ahead of the game here, and I've shopped the super rare gallery around on Discord, and I've already started to get some offers back so that I can get a bit of a gauge, a bit of a valuation on where the trader accounts, where the gallery buyers, where the bots value my cards and really what they would offer me for it. And the offers were okay, I suppose, but when I look at the individual players I've got here, I think I will make more money back on them by selling them myself individually for the most part. So as it sits right now, I thought maybe as we go through the video I might convince myself into something else, but I'm not really feeling like a change of heart here, a change of mind. I do feel that these 63 super rares are probably played every game week for me that they're going to play, and we probably look to move them on. This time last year we did the same thing with the Celtic super rares, the Callum McGregor unique, to kind of double down, to iron into super rare champ, to kind of have the season that we did last year and kind of keep on in that vein. But with it going to SO7, with it going to 4-team entry, I just think this is a losing battle now. It's just, there's no even optimistic way for me to see, like, oh yeah, I could make this work, I could turn this strategy profitable this year, or I could get into in-season quick enough, or whatever. I just don't see it being happening. So I'm in 2 minds with how I go about it. If I just rip the band-aid off and maybe do a bot sell them all to a gallery buyer or whatever, but my gut, my hunch, my kind of gut, my kind of feeling of what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to list as many of them up individually and see what the best price I can get for as many of the players that are like have a market, have some sort of level of liquidity. Where can I get them sold at before then maybe going back to the Discord kind of situation and then kind of maximising whatever deal I can get done at that stage. Now that will probably be a withdrawal situation for me if and when I get that deal done, where I relieve myself of my super rares or whatever, because at the moment with 414 rares, like, yeah, there's maybe a rare or two I would buy with some of the proceeds of that perhaps, but really I don't need many more rares if any, so I don't need to sell them to then reinvest into this or to really give a go at it. I might even use it to fund in-season Celtic cards. That might be a strategy that we go for, but outside of that, rare I'm like totally fine with, and limited isn't even really something we play beyond having those limited goalkeepers to activate the rare kind of underbelly that we've got in the gallery. And with the change of the classic shapes, by the way, all these Kasper Schmeichels are going to be way more interesting next year. The Road to Glory stuff, the member giveaway stuff that we do here on the channel, by the way, might be the best season ever for it. As a little side note. But if my rares weren't all singing and all dancing, and not that they are particularly, but I feel it's very well rounded, I'm very comfortable with where the rares are at the moment, then that kind of chopping the arm off one part of the gallery to help it go and reinforce another is a strategy point, is a market move I've did 1,000 times over. I always highly recommend it if and when possible. But there is also those times where you do need to recognise that, you know, does spending, or whatever all those super rares go for, spending that on rare, well, I really feel the difference on that, particularly with classic, probably not. Within season, there's certainly a strong case to think that I would, and that's maybe what I'm talking myself into at the moment, is maybe using the super rare proceeds to front load any in-season rare activity that we get firing on this season, because I've got so many good stories and memories with so many of these cards over the last couple of seasons, but sadly, yeah, I think maybe the music has stopped for me when it comes to super rare, which is sad, because I always wanted to see my gallery as one that started with nothing, progress all the way through the game, get into that unique zone, which kind of got a glass ceiling put on it, or kind of got a roadblock put on it last year, and then you kind of think, okay, well, we'll just consolidate that with super rare. Super rare is really the high roller game in town when they kind of shake everything out. I knew last year it wasn't all shaken out, and I was hoping this year it would feel more that way. But within season now being, especially for Champ, broken into the league specific elements, even me now winning a couple of in-season cards has to be extra fortuitous, or I have to be quite nimble in the market, so that when I do win my first 3 cards, they actually can all play in the same competition, whether it be Bundesliga, La Liga, Premier League. These prize pools look fair enough, they look exciting enough, don't get me wrong, but again, I can't imagine winning them. I can't imagine winning the cards and the right combinations quickly enough to get me involved in this early enough in the season, where law of averages will have enough opportunity to pay in for me across the year. So yeah, I think it's very much writing on the wall. I don't think I'll be playing super rare this year. Now, if you're interested in any of these cards, feel free to reach out to me. I'm kind of hell-bent on keeping the Girona collection together as a value proposition, but I think the rest of the cards, I'll probably sell them individually. I don't think there's many collections to keep together, as it were. But the Girona boys, I definitely will be keeping together, because it's all but complete. The only thing that's missing is the goalkeeper, who's rubbish anyway, but that's a story for another day perhaps. But yeah, if you're interested in any of them, feel free to reach out. And I think what I'll be doing over the next couple of days is listing them one by one and trying to see what ones I can get shifted. But I am quite aware that some of them maybe won't sell until match day 1 of the season. Tim Ormond, for example, has been on loan to Sturm Graz, and he might just be a really powerful scorer all of a sudden, but again, it'll be classic, so really how much is that going to be felt, we'll see. As well as guys like Gabri Vega, Kieran Tierney. I think some of these guys with transfers will wildly change their value on the market, so I'm not in a great rush with some of them to like, oh, better sell them all today, which is one of the main factors I think that stops me from just doing the bot sale. Because like Nemeka, for example, if he comes off the bench for Leeds first game of the season and scores a goal, that might go for another couple of quid more than what it once was. Historical data on guys like Vega and Tierney won't value them well, but I know the secondary market will, you know, so we might get a few more for them than what the bots would value them at. So yeah, I suppose wish me luck. If you're interested, send some offers, obviously feel free. Drop your comments, thoughts and feelings down below so I can catch up with them, see what you guys think about super rare. Am I missing something totally obvious that'll make me do a U-turn? I don't know, I highly doubt it, but the comment section, if there is one, the comment section will have that highlighted for us, no two ways about it. On screen there now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more content like this. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.